26. Oh, you can put your things in the chair. Make yourself comfortable. No, you have to stand there.
Okay.
Go right ahead, Mr. James.
Yes, sir. Ma'am, I see that you were a juror on a murder case before?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What county was that in?
Clayton.
Clayton County? And how long ago was that?
Had to be 10, 15 years ago.
Now, without telling me what the verdict was, were you all able to reach a verdict?
Yes.
Okay. I also see that you have been exposed to some media coverage about this case, and specifically I want to ask you about your responses, or your response rather, on question 52. You have co-workers and family discussions.
We just briefly talked about what we saw on television and what we've heard.
Okay. Can you fill us in on what you and your family and your co-workers discussed?
Just basically, I guess the part about the daycare and going to the daycare and the shooting and just some of the things that we've heard on the television.
Okay. Did you ever express an opinion about the guilt or the innocence of any of the players in the case, Hemi Newman or Mrs. Sneiderman?
No, because I wasn't really into it that well, so
Okay.
no.
Is there anything about what you've heard in the media that would prevent you from being a fair and impartial juror in this case?
No, nothing. No.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Clegg, Morgan.
Mr. Morgan.
Mr. Morgan.
Juror number 26, is Reverend Black still your preacher?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And based on you have no opinion one way or the other about this case?
No, I was watching news up until the time of court.
And I believe you also
But-
said you got some of it from the internet?
Yeah, internet, read a couple of sites on the internet, but I haven't made a decision of guilt or innocence on
And
it.
the sites you look at on the internet, were those news sites or how did you
News.
go about?
Just
And what
news
type of news
sites.
sites on the internet did you look at?
Well, you know, when you go to Google, they have like highlighted stuff, and you just click on whatever is highlighted at the time of that day, whatever's on there that day.
Well, you may have answered the question, were you specifically looking for information about this case or just any news in general and this case popped up?
Exactly.
So
Just,
this case was not specifically on your mind when you were
Right.
searching the web?
right. It's
Okay.
just something that popped up, and
And your co-workers that you said in the jury questionnaire that you discussed this case with, y'all never formulated an opinion one way or the other, is that correct?
correct.
No further questions, thank you, Judge.
You can follow the instructions of the clerk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
James?
No objection. No objection.
All right, qualified. Number 26. Should be next. Oh, you may proceed, yes, sir. No, proceed, I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Mr. 27.
I want to, juror number 27, ask you about the media coverage that you've seen in this case. Specifically, in question number 54, you responded that the defendant was apparently emotionally and perhaps romantically connected to Mrs. Sneiderman. Can you tell us how you came to that conclusion?
I don't know any real details about their actual connection, which is why I think I indicated another answer to another question. I didn't quite understand the connection, but
Okay.
that there was at least I believe, an inference in the media that there may have been some connection between Ms. Sneiderman and the gentleman.
So it's fair to say you inferred that from the media coverage that you saw or listened to?
I inferred there was a sense of that, yes.
Okay.
But I didn't pursue it and read about it particularly, or it wasn't at that time wasn't something I read a great deal of, or went out my way to listen to, say news coverage of, right?
Okay. Do you know the defendant? Do you know the defense put forth by Hemi Newman at his trial? You says no, he did seem somewhat pathetic.
That was a very general inference I got from the news coverage.
Okay.
I didn't quite, like I said, I didn't understand. There wasn't anything that was clear to me about it.
Okay. When you say he seemed somewhat pathetic, can you explain to us what you mean by that?
It seemed that there was that it seemed like perhaps a ill-fated attempt to accomplish something that didn't seem to work out very well at all.
Okay, let me be more direct. When you say an ill-fated attempt to accomplish something that did not work at all.
Well, it didn't seem to be something that was, I didn't quite understand what the purpose of it was. Did you question or doubt the validity of the defense put forward in that particular case? I don't really know what his defense was.
Okay.
As I said, I didn't pay attention to the case.
On question number 51, you responded, it says, do you have any opinions about this case? And your response was, I don't understand the man's attraction for Mrs. Sneiderman. Can you explain that? I think it had to do with that the newspaper photographs seemed to not were less flattering than her actual appearances in person. And I'm not sure if that was the nature of the photographs, or it was intentional or not, in the news coverage or not. Harold Edwards.
I know a Harold Edwards. I have no idea whether it's the same Harold Edwards.
Do you know how Mr. Edwards is employed or where he's employed?
I haven't seen him in years, and I have no idea where he's employed.
Okay. If this were the same Harold Edwards that you know, or that you have not seen in years, would that in fact affect your ability to be impartial?
No.
Would you give his testimony more or less weight because you know this individual?
I know him to be, in my experience, he was a very upstanding man, so I would have no qualms about his testimony.
Okay, let me ask the question again. Would you?
I would not be unduly biased towards it, but I definitely would not unduly question it.
Okay. I also see that you have an affiliation with the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Member? Yes.
Okay. What is the extent of your involvement, other than just being a member with the Southern Poverty Law Center?
A member at the lowest level of subscription.
Okay.
For maybe the last 5 years.
All right. And someone close to you, or either yourself, has experienced divorce as well. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm 60. A lot of the women I date or have dated have been divorced by this time in their lives. Yes.
I understand.
Yeah. And I've gone through friends going through their divorces. Some in this building.
Let's talk about your friends going through divorces.
Yeah.
are there anything about those divorces that's been shared with you that was particularly contentious? Any of those divorces got ugly?
One of them took a whole week in Judge Hunter's courtroom,
Okay.
somewhere in this building. Yeah.
All right. Is there any reason?
Plus the custody battle.
Yes,
For
sir.
1 day.
Is there any reason you can think of that you could not be a fair and impartial juror in this
No.
case? Thank you.
Mr. Pitcher?
Thank you, John. Sir,
Yes.
looks like you perform several functions for Just People, is that correct?
Yes.
That, my involvement with Just People has been with, I think there's a campus in Lilburn.
Yes.
Do you go to different campuses, or are you primarily, I think there's a couple in Gwinnett County, all over?
Yes, they have two housing facilities, one in Gwinnett County, in Lilburn, one in Fulton County. And I pick up people from the facility in Gwinnett County and drive them to their day program, and then possibly drive people to outings and activities from there,
Okay.
and then return them home, in addition to picking up people in, say, Gwinnett and Fulton counties.
Okay, so you do go occasionally to the Lilburn campus then?
5 days a week. Yeah.
Then let me ask you this. I represented a gentleman from there who was charged with an on-campus sexual assault about 2 years ago. There were a number of witnesses from the Just People
Okay.
outfit. Were you involved in that case at all?
I started working 3 months ago, and
Okay.
I have, and that's the first I ever heard of anything like this. I
Okay,
never knew about
thank
this.
you, sir. Now, your second job, you are an English as a second language instructor in the evenings, correct?
Correct.
Your conflict with work then would be with your job at Just People during
Correct.
the daytime.
Yes.
And you indicated that it would be, I think the word you used would be difficult for them, it would be difficult for my employee to cover for me for several weeks. Can you let us know, assuming, I don't want to say worst case scenario, but assuming you were a juror in this case for the next several weeks,
Yes.
could arrangements be made, although difficult, or would the program suffer? Do your best estimate as to what the result would be?
It would be, it would stretch the other employees somewhat in terms of, say, driving the van or driving the bus and covering activities during that time. And to my understanding, I wouldn't necessarily get paid by them during this time either.
Okay, so there would be a financial hardship for you?
That would be that, yes. Okay.
Your Honor, bear with me just one second.
No problem.
You indicated that a recent case from Florida, the Zimmerman case, causes you some concern, but you understand, quote, how the system works, you understand how the verdict was rendered.
Yes.
Is there anything about your, I guess, frustration as to how the system works sometimes that would affect your ability to give Mrs. Sneiderman a fair trial and the state a fair trial in this case?
No.
You indicated that your roommate's son has had, I think your language was, very mixed experiences with law enforcement. Would that experience of someone that you are somewhat close to, would that have any bearing on your ability, again, to be fair and impartial in this case, sir?
No.
Okay. And your knowledge of this case from the press, you know some of the allegations, you've seen some of the reports on it, but in a very general way, is that correct?
A very general, yes.
Okay. Based upon what you have seen about this case, and I think there've been some, looks like you get local news, newspaper, radio, 90.1 as well.
Yeah.
Anything that you have heard recently that you think would affect your ability to be fair in this case, sir?
No.
Now, you indicated that you probably have met Mr. Morgan
Yes.
at a social function before.
Yes.
Any reason to think that that would have any effect on your ability to be fair?
No.
And you believe that you have seen Judge Adams in the news. Anything that you've seen about Judge Adams in the news would affect your ability to be fair?
No.
please, Your Honor, just 1 second.
You may.
And you generally respect both prosecutors and defense attorneys?
I've known both,
Okay,
and AGs, and
okay.
deputy AGs, or deputy AGs, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes, follow the instructions of the clerk, please. Thank you. State's position? No objection. Defense?
Please qualify, Your Honor. I'm sorry. Please be qualified.
Thank you. Qualified, number 2728 should be next. You may proceed, Mr. James.
Juror number 28,
If you remain standing, sir, or just that once you proceed.
I understand that what you know about the case is, quote, Newman is doing life. Is that correct?
Right.
Right. How did you come to that conclusion? Did you hear about it?
Yeah.
Okay. Other than the fact that Newman is doing life, have you heard anything else about the case?
No.
Okay. I also see that there is someone that's a friend or a family member that you know that has a DUI conviction as well.
DUI?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right. Who is that?
Sister-in-law husband.
Okay. How close were you to that case?
Well, I just hear about it, you know, and it's my sister-in-law husband, you know, so,
Was it here in DeKalb County?
yeah. No, in Gwinnett.
In Gwinnett? Do you feel like he was treated fair by the system out in Gwinnett County?
Well, you know, you do the crime, you do the time.
Yes, sir. Is there any reason whatsoever that you can think of that you cannot sit as a fair and impartial juror in this case?
Sure. Well, I ain't got nothing against anybody, you know what I mean, so I'll be fair. I'll be straight up.
You'll be fair?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Clegg?
Yes, thank you, Judge. Yes, sir. In one of the questions, question number 39 on the questionnaire, the question reads as follows. Do you have any reason you believe you could not be true to your oath as a juror? And you answered yes. Does that mean you believe that you might not be able to honor your oath if you were picked as a juror?
Well, I will honor it.
Speak up, sir.
I will honor it.
He says, I will honor it.
You will honor it, okay, I'm sorry. All right, so, did you misunderstand the question, perhaps? That's it, I got your answer, okay. You indicated that one of your friends was treated bad during the course of their criminal prosecution, is that correct?
Yeah, that was in New York.
Okay. And do you think your feeling as to that would affect your ability to sit as a fair and impartial juror in this case at all?
No.
Did your knowledge that Mr. Newman was doing a life sentence come from information at the time of the trial of Mr. Newman, or did it come at a later date?
Well, at the time of after the trial
Okay.
finished,
Did you watch the trial or pay attention to Mr. Newman's trial while it was taking place?
no,
Did you know the name Andrea Sneiderman prior to getting a summons for jury service and reading the jury questionnaire?
no,
Is today or Friday the first time you had ever heard that name in your life?
I just had him on.
do you have any opinion as you stand here today about whether she is guilty or not guilty of the crimes that she is charged with that you heard read this morning?
No.
Can you think of any reason, sir, why you could not be a fair and impartial juror?
Well, I could not be a fair and impartial juror.
Speak up just a tad, I'm sorry.
Well, I could not be a fair and impartial juror. I ain't got nothing against, you know what I mean?
No reason you could not?
I could be a fair juror, yeah.
Okay. You are originally from Guyana, is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yeah,
And I apologize for my lack of geography. Is that in South America?
yeah. Where Jim Jones,
Is the native language in Guyana something other than English?
no, English,
Okay, so that English is your first language, sir?
yes.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you. Number 20 is followed. The clerk, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take position.
No objection.
No objection.
All right. Qualified. Number 29 will be next. He's with you. I'm sorry, excuse me. She's with you. You may proceed, Mr. James.
Ma'am, let me ask you about your trip plans
Yes.
coming up. If you could, let's start with the first trip. When is it and what are your plans?
The first trip is a trip with my mother. We're driving, so we can cancel it.
Okay. And what are those dates?
That's the 12th.
The
12th, 13th, 14th.
And what about the next trip?
And then the last weekend, I think it's the 28th of the month. I've already bought a plane ticket.
That's August 28th.
Yes, the end of the month. It's the last weekend of the month. I think it's the 24th, 5th, something like that. I'm flying out that Saturday. So.
You have served on a jury before, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you said lawsuit, business dispute.
Yeah, it was sort of I didn't understand all of it's hard for me to remember. I did understand it at the time, but somebody had died. The husband was suing that company thinking that they owed her back pay or something. So
Were you all able to reach a verdict?
we did.
You also have some experience with divorce as well, is that correct?
My parents are divorced,
Your parents.
and one of my brothers, and I've been divorced.
Okay. Let's start with yourself. Was that a particularly contentious divorce or?
No, I was in my early 20s, right out of college. We got married. It wasn't working. We went to the court together. Went to a movie after. It wasn't contentious.
How about your parents?
That was contentious.
Okay.
But, I mean, there was a dispute over alimony and child support and that kind of thing.
How long ago was that?
But, early 80s. I was in junior high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any reason you can think of that you cannot sit as a fair and impartial juror in this case, ma'am?
I don't believe so.
Thank you.
This morning.
Thank you. Juror 29, I believe you answered that you know someone else on the jury panel.
Don't know. They said, did you recognize? I saw a woman. We knew each other, looked familiar. We spoke, introduced ourselves, couldn't remember how we'd met or when. We just recognized each other.
I believe we may have questioned another juror from Turner. You don't recognize who you?
I did not see anybody recognized from work, no.
Yeah, what do you do for Turner?
I work in an IT group, and we support the financial software.
And the trip at the end of August, is that a personal trip? or
That's a
business
personal trip.
Okay. And do you recall whether or not the plane ticket is refundable or non-refundable?
I don't think it is. It was like a couple $100. I mean, I understand that that's not necessarily a reason to get out of it, but.
And you mentioned in your questionnaire that you were shot at on the interstate. Can you elaborate on that, please?
That's from a long time, in 90, something, like early 90s. I had just moved to Atlanta. I was on the interstate with a friend of mine. We got mad, somebody cut us off, and then we pulled up to him to try to yell at him, and he shot a gun at us, and I was like,
That was here.
okay, that's Atlanta, yeah.
Was that reported to the police?
I did.
And probably in an incident like that, unless you've got a very good description, they got away, is that correct?
Well, we actually got the tag number, called the police immediately. They caught the guy, and then he just said he wasn't in the car that day. And it was
no further
over.
investigation. Because of that, did that leave you with any impressions of the criminal justice system?
I wasn't really pleased with that result.
Okay, do you recall which police department investigated?
It happened near Jonesboro, so I think the trial took place in Jonesboro or south of the
Clayton
city.
County was not DeKalb.
Correct, yes.
And you grew up as a child of an Army officer, correct?
Yes.
So you traveled around a lot.
Less because he was closer to retirement. I'm the youngest. So we traveled less. We lived places longer than my brothers did, so.
No further questions, thank you.
Thank you. If you could follow the instructions of the clerk, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. State's position. All right, qualified, thank you. 30 should be next. Mr. James, you may.
Sir, you indicated, in response to, being fair and impartial, when I read your response, I think she's guilty. Can I get,
Just by reading the newspaper before Friday.
okay, before Friday, is there anything that's happened
No,
since Friday that's changed your mind?
no, sir.
As you stand here right now, do you still think that she's guilty, she being the defendant?
That was just my opinion.
Okay, is that still your opinion?
I think so.
Okay. Is that a fixed opinion, or could you listen to the judge's instruction when he tells you to listen to the facts and the evidence? And
Yes, I
keep
could
an open
listen.
mind and be impartial?
Yes,
Do you believe that you can do that?
yes, sir.
Are you sure you can do that?
Yeah.
Can you set aside any personal opinions that you may have held before you came in this courtroom and judge this case based on the facts and evidence as they are presented to you?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Thank you. I have nothing further on.
Thank you. Mr. Petrie?
Thank you. Sir, you had answered in response to question 54, which I'm sure you don't remember by number, but it says, did you see or hear anything about the State versus Hemi Newman? Then it goes on to say, if you said yes, did you see anything specific about Andrea Sneiderman in that trial? You said yes. Then it went further. If yes, what did you see or hear? And there's something that's scratched out, and then you wrote lie in court.
Correct.
Okay. Do you believe that you saw her lie in court, or you just saw allegations that she lied in court? I'm a little confused as to that answer.
I'm just seeing it on the news.
Okay. But did you see her and form your own opinion, hey, she's lying, or you saw in the news that someone accused her of lying?
I just formed my own opinion.
Okay. So your opinion was that she was lying in that trial?
Correct.
Okay. And you indicated that the sources for that opinion were television, WSB, and from the newspaper?
Correct.
Then, rather succinctly and bluntly, in question 59, based on what you have heard about the case or on the facts that's set out above, is there anything about this case that might make it difficult for you to sit as a fair and impartial juror? You stated, I think she's guilty.
Correct.
Okay. Now, that is what you filled out on Friday. And you indicated to Mr. James that you believe you could set that aside and render a verdict based on the evidence. Is that correct, that you did tell him that?
Correct.
Now, sir, are you able to tell us here today that you are satisfied that your pre-trial opinions, which seem rather blunt, that Mrs. Sneiderman is guilty, that you can set those aside, forget about those opinions that you had beforehand, and base your determination solely on what evidence comes from this courtroom, taken in light of the law that Judge Adams gives you? Can you guarantee us that, sir?
Yes.
You indicated, I think, that the only time conflict that you have, sir, begins on August the 24th in Newport, or you need to be there earlier than the 24th?
Probably be there on the Friday, the 23rd.
Okay, the 24th is a Saturday?
Correct.
So you are good between now and the 23rd?
Yes.
If you're on this jury, the judge has given you what we believe is a good faith estimate from both sides as to how long the trial is going to take. If we get to the 23rd and for whatever reason this trial is not through, what does that do to your plans? Is it something, are you a member of the wedding party? Are you a guest, a relative? Is it going to be, basically, I guess what I'm trying to say is it the end of the world for you or for somebody else if you're not there?
I fly a lady out. I work with senior citizens, and her family hires me to fly the lady to the wedding.
Okay, so you are an escort for someone, and it looks like you work at Lynbrook.
Correct.
Okay. Now, both your other job at McKinnon's, they haven't been on Cheshire Bridge for years. They're up on Maple Drive now.
Correct.
Okay. So both of your jobs are in Buckhead.
Right.
Okay. And if in fact you are on this jury, sir, would someone else be able to have the onerous task of going to Newport, Rhode Island in the summertime?
I probably could find some.
Okay. And what do you do at Lynbrook?
I lost my job in 2010, and I just worked for about 6 or 7 people on my own.
Okay, you do individual tasks, sort of I don't want to...
Driving to the doctor.
A man Friday.
Correct.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Just follow the instructions of the clerk.
Okay.
Thank you. You're going to stay?
No objection.
Defense?
Your Honor, we do object to this juror. He was rehabilitated by the state nominally, but we believe that was only after successive questioning by Mr. James. His unrehabilitated answers clearly state, quote, "What did you see or hear lie in court? I think she's guilty." I do not believe that jury, Your Honor, can offer Mrs. Sneiderman the fair and impartial judgment of a juror who has not prejudged this case, and we would move to excuse this juror for cause.
Hold. Mr. James?
Your Honor, I think the juror was very clear. I didn't press him. I asked him one time if he could listen to the court's instruction and follow it and be fair and impartial. And he didn't hesitate. He didn't equivocate. He said one time that he could. I went beyond that and asked him if he was sure. I believe twice or maybe perhaps even 3 times. And every time that I asked him, that I inquired whether or not he was sure, the juror responded, yes, in fact, he was sure. Subsequent to that, Mr. Petrie got up and engaged in the same line of questioning, and this juror was unshaken, unmoved, and indicated that unequivocally that he could follow the court's instruction and be a fair and impartial juror.
Speech, anything else for the record?
No, sir.
I'm just looking at Daniels that says, of course, a potential juror who is inclined toward either party is not to be disqualified if she or he will be able to set aside her or his opinion and decide the case based upon the evidence in the court's charge. And he responded he could. At this point in time, he's qualified. 30 is qualified. Number 30 is qualified. Bring the next one. Hello, you can stand right there. You can come over just a little bit more, Ms. Green.
Thank you. Juror 31, you let us know that you might have a conflict or a hardship if you were selected for this jury? Can you tell me what that is?
Me being a disabled veteran, I do have appointments at the VA,
All right.
so they might conflict with whatever, day you might have me to be here.
Are you having any medical situation that is so immediate that you couldn't reschedule those appointments if you had to?
No, no.
Well, do you have any appointments scheduled right now over the next 2 to 3 weeks?
Yes, I do, sir.
When is the first one?
August the 16th or something like
What
that.
time?
That morning, I don't know exactly what time, I can't remember what time.
Is this an appointment that if you change the appointment, your life will be at risk?
No, it would not be.
All right, next question.
Thank you. Anything other than those, that one doctor appointment or potentially other doctor's appointments that you have a scheduling problem or a hardship if you were on the jury?
Nothing other than me working, but I've worked that part out.
Okay, that would be all right?
That would be okay.
Because you are a nurse with Kaiser?
Yes, with Kaiser Permanente.
Okay. And what facility do you work?
I'm a traveling nurse. I work in all of their facilities.
Okay. When you travel, do you sometimes travel overnight?
No, we just strictly 9 to 6, 8 to 5:30, something like that. That's it. No weekends.
No
at all.
weekends, all right.
No.
You let us know too that you had heard something about the case, but that was kind of in passing. Is that right?
Yes. That's like passing through, getting dressed to go to work, something like that.
News
May have,
on?
yeah, that's it.
Okay.
May have heard something like that.
All right. Do you have any opinions about the case? Do you feel like you know enough to have an opinion about the case?
No.
Okay. You let us know that you had heard something since Friday, since you had come to fill out the questionnaire.
I heard something this morning when
Okay.
I was getting dressed to come here, and that's basically that they were trying to pick a jury, and that was it.
Anything that you think might impact your ability to be fair and impartial if you were a juror on this case?
No.
You think of anything I didn't ask you about that might impact your ability to be fair and impartial?
No.
Thank you.
Mr. Clegg?
Yes. Yes, ma'am, you have training as both a nurse and a mortician, is that correct?
Mortician and drill sergeant when I was in the military.
Okay. And how long were you in the military for?
13 years.
Okay. And what branch of the military were you in?
Army.
Okay. And were you a nurse in the Army or a mortician?
No, I was studying to be a mortician in the Army.
Okay. In your current job, I guess you go from one location to the other, taking vital signs for folks who are attempting to get insured by Kaiser Permanente, is that correct?
They are already insured by Kaiser. And what I do is I assist the doctors, the PAs, and some of the main nurses, our head nurses. I work in different facilities like cardiology, oncology, whatever. Whoever's out of work that day, that's who I fill in for. So I can do a number of things.
So you are doing a variety of things
variety
depending on who is out on that
Yes.
particular day?
Yes.
You are somewhat of a jack of all trades, at least in the nursing field, I guess.
Jane of all trades, yes.
Okay. Yes, well
Yeah.
said, ma'am, okay.
Okay.
You are very active in a number of community groups, if I understand correctly. First off, the VFW Delta Sigma Theta, what is that exactly?
That's a sorority. When you go to college, normally we do different sororities, Alpha Kappa Alpha, AKA.
Okay.
So
And
it's just
then,
one of those things.
It says here, if I'm reading this correctly, Junior Achievement Day at various schools.
Yes.
What exactly do you do on those occasions?
We go out and we try to teach young children about the business aspects. Kaiser gives us that day to go to whatever school they choose. And I might go in and I might talk about some parts of education. Then again, I might talk about business, how to do a checkbook, just numerous of things that they, should know in life growing up.
When you are giving those presentations, how old are the kids you are talking to?
Sometimes we deal with 8th graders, 6th graders, nobody other than 10th at the most, 10th graders.
And for the most part, are you advising them or making them aware of what goes on in a real business and encouraging them to become entrepreneurs?
I am.
Do you do that, how often again? I'm sorry, you may have said.
I don't do it often, but it's just that whenever they have a career day coming up, we might volunteer to do it.
You had indicated that you are a Baptist, and on Sundays, you attend religious services on Sundays times 3. Do you go to actually 3 different religious services on Sundays?
Now, that might be 3 times a month,
Oh, okay.
like that.
I was
No.
having a hard time understanding it
Nah.
myself, yeah, so you're a patient individual if you can do that,
nah.
okay? All right.
That's too
I'm
much.
relieved
That's
to
too
hear you
much
say
saying
that,
about
okay?
it.
And you have brief knowledge of the case, pretty much, you'd be passing by the TV screen and you'd see some reference to it.
Yes.
Other than that, you heard something about it, I guess, in either the paper or the radio this morning?
This morning, yes, the
Yep.
TV, when I was passing by
And-
getting dressed.
Did you make any reference to the nature of the charges pending or anything of that sort?
I wasn't paying any attention to that. Only I heard that there was a jury being, and I just said, oh, okay.
And you thought,
You know,
gosh, that's probably the one I'm going to.
Yeah, and don't let me listen at that no more. Let me keep going.
Okay. Other than that, is it fair to say that you have virtually no knowledge of this particular case?
It is.
While you were in the military, did you ever have occasion to serve in any sort of court proceeding such as a court martial?
No, I did not.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Sure do appreciate it.
Thank you. Follow the instructions of the clerk.
All right.
Say,
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
qualified, number 31. Number 32 should be next. You may question.
Chair 32? You let us know that you thought you had formed an opinion about this case.
Yes.
You raised your card this morning. Can you tell me what your opinion is?
Well, based on from what I saw in the news, I thought that she was guilty.
Okay. And are you a little anxious talking about it? No?
No.
Okay. What have you seen the news recently and you're basing your opinion on that, or have
No.
you followed the case
No, it was basically when it first came out.
when it first came out?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. Would you say that you had followed the case? Have you followed it since it came out?
No.
No? Okay. Your opinion, you understand that, what you see in the news is not evidence, or what you might see on TV isn't evidence. The jurors in this case would have to decide the case just based on what they hear in the courtroom. Do you think you'd be able to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think you have any opinion that's so strong that you couldn't put it aside and just keep an open mind and base your opinion on what you hear in the courtroom?
No.
No, you don't have an opinion so strong that you
No.
can do that? Okay. All right. You have got, do you have any other feelings or opinions about the case that you think we should be aware of?
No.
You let us know that there was someone, either you or someone else had applied for a job in the Fulton County Sheriff's Department?
Yes.
Okay, who was that?
Me.
That was you? Okay.
Mhm.
And that was last year?
Mhm.
Okay. And have you applied, or are you interested in applying for any other jobs in law enforcement?
No.
Okay. Was it a civilian position?
No.
It was a detention officer?
Yes.
All right. And you have got, you got 2 kids at Drew?
Yes.
Carter? Okay. When did they go back to school?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Alright. Anything, you live with your parents?
Yes.
Okay, so is there anything about your kid's situation that would cause a hardship for your family if you were selected for a juror for a couple of weeks in this case?
I'm the sole provider of transportation.
Transportation?
Yes.
Okay. The judge has let the jurors know that court would run from 9 a.m. in the morning till just about 5 o'clock at night. So if that was your daily schedule, would you have any transportation problems or any problems with your family based on that?
Yeah,
You
because
being
the
here
kids
that
get
time?
out at 4.
They get out at 4?
Yes.
Okay. Could you make arrangements, or could you have some sort of, a friend, or maybe your parents or someone else make arrangements for the kids?
No.
Okay. If you're not there to pick them up at 4, what happens?
Late fees until I pick
Late
them up.
fees and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think there's more.
Mr. Morgan, if you could just remain for the defense lawyer to ask questions. Ms. Morgan, she was leaving. Ms. Morgan?
Oh, I'm sorry, Judge, I thought you were.
No, I was talking. She's with.
Juror number 32, in the jury questionnaire, you said you had formed an opinion on this case early on, is that correct?
Yes.
Was that based on your own observations of the news, or was it based on discussions with others?
No
What
observation
was-
on the news.
Okay, not in discussions with other people?
No.
Do you get your news only from television, or do you get it from radio, the internet? What are your
Both.
sources?
Internet, radio, TV.
And did you hear information on this case on all 3?
On 2 of them, yes.
Okay, on 2 of them.
Yes.
Okay, now, you said you formed an opinion early on.
Yes.
Okay. Was your opinion that Mrs. Sneiderman was guilty of all the charges that you heard she was charged with early on in this case?
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay, so you'd already formed an opinion that she was guilty of murder then?
Well, if she arranged for it, yes.
Okay, my question was, had you already formed an opinion based on the news accounts that our client was guilty of murder, and you understand she's not charged with that?
Understand that she's not charged with that.
Okay, well, you had formed an opinion,
Yes.
okay, that she's guilty,
Yes.
and that opinion has not changed?
I hadn't seen any other thing that would make me change it.
Okay, so you still believe she's guilty of murder?
Yes, until proven otherwise.
Okay, do you understand it's not the defendant's job to prove anything? It's the state's job to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yes.
Okay. And yet you're stating that the defense would have to prove it's innocent before you could find a not guilty verdict?
I would have to see something different.
You would have to see something different from the defense because you've already formed an opinion on this case, is that correct?
Yes.
No further questions.
You may follow the instruction of the clerk. Yes, ma'am.
Is yours acceptable to the state?
Ms. Morgan?
Your Honor, she has stated over and over again, she's already formed an opinion on this case, that the defense would have to prove it's innocent before she could render a different opinion. She's not qualified.
Ms. Cross?
Your Honor, I believe she is qualified. She said that whatever opinion she has, she's able to set aside. She understands that the evidence comes in the courtroom for this juror and not from anywhere else. I also don't think it's fair to judge her response or take her response at face value. She hasn't yet had the benefit of the court's instruction about the burden of proof and who's responsible for proving what. She hasn't yet had that, and to ask her questions based on the instruction or an understanding of an instruction she hasn't yet heard, I don't think disqualifies this juror. In fact, she is qualified, and we'd ask that she be kept in the pool.
I'm gonna let her go for cause. Bring in the next juror.
Juror number 33? You raised your card this morning when the judge asked about scheduling conflicts or a hardship if you were to serve on this jury. What do you want to talk to us about?
I'm the sole provider for my son.
And your son's 5 months old?
Yes.
When you say you're the sole provider, what, like, day-to-day responsibilities do you have?
He actually lives with me.
Okay. Does he go to daycare or any other?
I have somebody watching while I work.
Okay, while you work?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's a certain time.
If you were here instead of at work from 9 in the morning till 5 at night,
Mhm.
Is that something that would work? That's something that you could work out?
Possibly, I can't say for sure right now. I would have to try to work it out.
Okay, but you are saying that would you say you're the primary caregiver
Yes.
for that child?
Yes.
And you work You work at Home Depot, and you mentioned on your questionnaire that you've got concerns about not being paid while you were on.
I actually clarified that, and they do.
They do pay you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
So if you're here, you will be getting paid, so you don't have to worry about
Right.
not getting paid. And you do, if you can make arrangements for someone to care for your son, is that correct?
I don't know. I can try. Is what I'm saying.
But I'm saying you work now. is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And when you're working, someone cares for your son.
Yes, but it's a certain schedule that I work. I work early in the morning. I don't get out too late in the evening. My problem is I have problems finding somebody to watch them later in the evening. I usually get off
What
around
do you
2 or
call
3.
late in the evening?
Like 4 or 5 is what I usually have a problem with, because I get off around 2 or 3.
2 or 3 in the afternoon?
Yes. Yeah.
But
So-
if you, go ahead.
So if I was to be here around 4 or 5, it'd be a problem as far as finding somebody to watch.
But you have someone watching him today?
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead.
You raised your card when you were asked about knowing someone or being close to someone who had a mental illness.
Mhm.
Okay, can you tell me who that is?
My mother's grandmother is still alive, and she has dementia.
Okay. Do you do much caring for her, or do you see her very frequently?
I don't see her frequently, but she's close to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, do you have anybody close to you? Okay. Have you heard anything about this case?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have any opinions based on what you heard about the case? Anything you heard in the last couple days change your mind about that, or cause you to have an opinion one way or the other?
Yes.
Okay, what's that? You hesitate a little bit like you were thinking. Can you tell me what you're thinking?
I really don't know too much about the case,
Mm-hmm.
but from what I did hear, I don't really know how to word it. I don't know which way to sway me.
Okay, well tell me this, what did you hear?
What I did hear was more about what happened prior to this case, the other case.
Okay, all right, the other case, does the name Hemi Newman sound
Yeah.
familiar to you?
Yeah.
Okay, and you didn't indicate in the questionnaire that you recognize that name, but now do you have a little more information about?
Yes.
Okay. Knowing what you know now that you didn't know before,
Mm-hmm.
does that cause you to feel one way or the other about the defendant being guilty or not guilty?
Yes.
Okay, and how does that change your opinion about the defendant?
It doesn't necessarily change my opinion because I don't know the extent of this case,
Okay.
but I'm saying it could
It could.
possibly.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, and we're asking, so
Right.
I appreciate you bringing it up. Do you feel like you have any opinions or you have any information that would make it difficult for you to be fair and impartial if you were to sit as a juror in this case?
No.
You have been the victim of a robbery
Yes.
that was not reported to the police?
No.
Okay. Can you tell me why you didn't report it to the police?
Personally, I felt like it would have been a waste of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why would you think it might have been a waste of time?
Past situations that have happened with people close to me and myself, when certain incidents were reported and it was just kind of shrugged off or laughed at.
Okay, you thought maybe they wouldn't take you seriously?
Right.
Or put any time or resources into it?
Right.
Those other experiences that you were talking about, was that here in DeKalb County?
No.
Okay. Where was that?
It was actually in another state. It was
In another state?
Yeah.
Okay. And was that where you were the victim of a robbery too?
No, that was here.
That was here in
Yes.
DeKalb? Okay, but based on what your impression of law enforcement in another community, that's what
Yes.
caused you? Okay, I understand. Do you have any opinions about law enforcement just in general, good or bad?
No.
Have you got a friend who's employed at General Electric or GE?
Yes.
Okay, who is that person?
The sister of my child's mother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know that person's name?
Anaja, A-N-A-J,
All right.
last name.
And the only reason I'm asking is because I expect evidence to be from many people who worked at GE.
Right.
When you reviewed the questionnaire and it had all the list of witnesses, did you see that person's name? All right. Thank you.
Mr. Petrie, if you could remain, Mr. Petrie has a couple questions.
Sir, earlier on, when the court asked for people to raise their hands, and we got just a few hands up, about people that could be impartial, you raised your hand. And my impression at that time was a lot of people didn't understand the question.
Right.
You did understand it. You
Right.
understood that the judge was asking you, can you be fair? Can you be impartial? That is not biased, and you raised your hand,
Right.
correct?
Right.
Okay. Since you filled out the questionnaire, you have realized certain things about this case that you didn't know earlier.
Right.
But I understood you to say that even though you now know that this case is connected to an earlier case
Right.
that you did know something about,
Right.
you could still be fair in this
Yeah.
case. Okay. Now, is there anything, well, I'm trying to figure out. So obviously what you knew about the other case sort of came back to you over the weekend.
Right.
Do you think that there are other details or aspects of the previous case that are sort of there in the back of your mind too, that might come forward and color your judgment as to Mrs. Sneiderman's guilt or innocence?
Possibly.
Okay.
Possibly. As of right now, I'm impartial, but.
Okay,
possibly.
right now you're impartial. The press that you have seen since Friday, can you tell us exactly what that was, as best you can recall?
Well, it was kind of flipping through the channels, and I stopped on a certain news station, and I saw that they were talking about picking a jury, and they kind of ran through what this was all about, and that's kind of it. They kind of ran through the previous case and this case a little bit, and how it's all tied together. But it was more or less talking about they're in the process of picking a jury.
And you understand, with all due respect to the members of the press, that what you hear or read about a case may be totally inaccurate as to what actually happened.
Of course, of course.
And you understand that if you were selected as a juror, your job is going to be to say to yourself, okay, I gotta forget what channel such and such or such and such a journalist said about this, and I gotta look at the evidence, and I gotta take the law from Judge Adams. You could do that. Now let me ask you, sir, I'm a little confused about your child care situation. You normally get off 2 to 3, and you are the sole caretaker for your infant son from that time till bedtime?
Right.
Okay. You don't know yet, if I understood you correctly, that you can make arrangements for those 2 or 3 hours that are unaccounted for right now.
Exactly, and that's coming from past experience when I've tried to have somebody watching for that extra amount of time in the past.
Is there some way that that you could report back to the court as to whether or not you were successful in making those arrangements? In other words, obviously, you don't know if you can do it right now.
I have to.
You don't know
make
yes
some
or
calls.
no.
Right.
What kind of inquiries would you have to make, and what kind of time frame would be involved in your being able to come back here and say, here's what I've learned, yes I can do it, or no I can't do it?
No more than 48 hours.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Thank you. This follows the instruction of the clerk. What state's position?
No objection, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Petrie?
Your Honor, I believe the juror is qualified. I would ask the court to allow this juror to just report back at the court's directed time on what progress he's made. I believe he would be excusable for cause of hardship if he's not able to make those arrangements. My gut feeling is he seems that he's willing, good faith to make that attempt. Otherwise, he's qualified.
All right, I'm gonna put him down as qualified. And I understand what you're asking, and, he's qualified. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sheriff 34, you've got some travel coming up
Yes.
in the month of August. Can you tell me about that?
I am going to Baltimore, Maryland for my job on, I think it's August the 11th through the 16th. And then I have a personal trip to Las Vegas on the 21st to the 26th.
21st to the 26th? Have you already made your flight arrangements?
Yes.
And are those tickets refundable by any chance?
I think they all can be maybe credited, but I know that you have to pay several $100s to get them credited, and then you forfeit that amount.
Okay. All right. The business trip you're taking to Baltimore, and you are an interior designer?
Yes.
Okay. And your company has, are you required to go on that trip?
Yes, at this point, yes. I mean, it's not life or death or organ donation or anything like that, so yes, all those things don't apply, but
Okay, but your trip to Las Vegas on the 21st?
that is just an optional trip that, I mean, I have planned for fun.
Okay. All right, any other conflicts or scheduling issues that you want to bring to our attention?
Not at the moment. I mean, as far as my job goes, I do travel, and from now I'm just saying I'm not booking anything else. I can't go anywhere else until I find out what's going on with this. But generally, something else would come up that I would go on another trip somewhere. Usually it's 2 work trips a month.
2 work trips a month?
Mhm.
And are those often overnight trips?
It's usually about 4 or 5 days.
Do you travel usually by yourself when you go, or does someone else from your company go with you?
I have other people that go with me. I'm the lead designer over a group of girls, depending on how many houses are going in.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be 1, it could be 6.
You let us know that you had heard about this case
Yes.
in the past. Do you have any opinions about the case?
I honestly haven't kept up with enough to know. I mean, I knew about who, like the name and hearing the name. I think anybody in Atlanta probably has. I mean, but I haven't really kept up with it enough to know the details.
But you do know where the event took place, or where the murder took place?
Yes,
Okay.
I put in the sheet. My friend's child went there at the time.
At the time?
Mhm.
Okay, who's your friend?
Sam and Mike Fink. It's Asher Fink is their son.
Have you talked with them about the fact that this occurred at their son's preschool?
Recently, or like when it happened?
Both.
When it happened, I believe we had a party, maybe New Year's or something, and they just mentioned that, that was at their school.
Okay.
And again, it was like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. I can't believe something like that would happen where your kid goes to school. And then,
But that's information you learned several weeks or a month or 2 later
Yeah.
at a social event?
yes.
Okay. Anything you might have heard since that time that makes you think that you have an opinion one way or the other about the case?
No.
Do you feel for any reason you couldn't be a fair or impartial juror in a case?
No.
Your late husband
Yes.
had an issue that you let us know about.
Yes.
Okay. And you expressed some opinions about the criminal justice system in general. What are your opinions about that?
Well, as far as the stuff that he was dealing with the stuff before I met him. So I was kind of brought into all of that, after
So
the
you
fact.
got his impression of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, he was on probation for, I think it was like 5 years or something.
Okay.
In which time, you can't get a speeding ticket, you can't look at something the wrong way, you can't do whatever, and it's like, to a degree, I feel like that's a little bit unfair.
Uh-huh.
Just in general, it's like you can't get a parking ticket. That's not even doing anything wrong, really.
And that
So-
period of time that he was on probation and the restrictions and everything, was that what you mean when you said that people get stuck in the system?
Yes, yeah. And yeah, at the time of his death, he was still on probation, so,
It was.
yeah.
Is there anything about any of that you think impacts the way you think about how you serve on a criminal jury?
At the moment, no. I don't know that would be an issue at any, on a certain thing, but, his situation was such that I walked into that in the middle of all of it going on and had to just deal with the fallout.
Okay. And you were also a witness at one time and actually testified in court.
Yes.
All right. And when did that incident take place?
I think that it was in maybe 98, 99. I'm not really exactly sure what year.
Okay.
I was working as an attendant at a gas station, and 2 people got in an altercation in the parking lot, and one of them, the guy tried to hit this lady with his car, and so it was felony assault is what he was charged with. And since I was standing at the edge looking out, seeing it happen, I testified for, I don't even know which side, honestly.
Okay.
said, we just need you to say what you saw.
And did you do that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any, do you feel that was a good experience, a bad experience, a neutral experience?
I felt like it was enlightening. The lawyer, the specific lawyer, and again, I'm not generalizing, he questioned me and then took specific things and twisted them into a way that wasn't what I said, which is also what I told the court whenever he said it. I said, I didn't say it like that, I said it like this.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's a person doing that, not a system in general. So.
All right.
Incident at the BP that you observed, ma'am, you said you got an interesting look at the criminal justice system, is that correct?
Or maybe I should have said at the lawyer involved in the case.
Okay. And when you said you thought it was interesting to see, you said, how did you get a statement?
Yeah.
And then you were going to Las Vegas in the middle of the summer, I guess, right?
Yes, my little brother has an art show there, so it's just, again, a fun trip. But.
Okay. And you have tickets for the trip already? Okay. All right. Where are you staying in Las Vegas? At a hotel or at someone's residence or where?
At a hotel.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, ma'am. I don't have anything else.
Okay, thanks.
Number 34, before you go, the trip that is scheduled between August the 12th and August the 16th. And I fully understand it's a business trip and others may be available. If you are selected, and if you're with us and you do not have the opportunity to attend that particular business trip, will it hurt your future growth or career there at the company?
I don't believe so. I mean, it will be an inconvenience, but other than that, I don't anticipate my bosses, hopefully somebody else can fill in for me.
Thank you. Please follow the instructions of the clerk. Please hold the bill momentarily. State's position.
It's a qualified jury, Your Honor.
Mr. Clerk.
We believe she is qualified, right?
Should be qualified. Lawyers, let me just approach her for a moment, please.